Because this is really important. It has come up in the last few months with referendums. Let's take a look at the Clarity Act 2000 and how it's actually designed to completely screw over the people. The Clarity Act was based on a Supreme Court opinion, not a ruling. An opinion is very different from an official ruling. The government is actually entitled to formulate the wording of a referendum, not the people. And democracy, all of a sudden, does not mean a simple majority anymore. No, now a clear majority only gets you to negotiate, not even to secede. And only after a qualitative evaluation determined whether that clear majority has even been achieved. So who gets to determine all of this? Secession is also tied to the loss of Canadian citizenship. Now, Canadian citizenship is the government slavery system. But of course, you need a Canadian passport to be able to travel. However, here's the catch-22. Unless 100% of all people of a province vote to secede and at the same time lose Canadian citizenship, there will never be negotiations about secession. So what are the chances of success here? If only one guy says, yeah, I would like to secede, but I don't want to lose my passport, so I'm going to vote no, you're done. There will never be negotiations. Further, representatives in the House of Commons get to determine what is a clear question and a clear majority prior to any negotiations. So the government that you want to secede from, which you don't need to do to begin with because you've been sovereign since 1931, but the one you want to secede from gets to decide how you run your referendum, if the vote is clear enough, and if they allow you to negotiate with them. Do you think this will be successful? Remember the little child case in Alberta from 1990. That was constituents sued their member of parliament because he promised them that he was going to vote against the GST, but then he voted in favor of the GST. They sued him. The court decided that he had zero accountability to his constituents. That case set precedent that no government official has any accountability. They don't owe you anything after they voted in. Here it says that it is recognized that there's no right under the Constitution of Canada to effect the secession of a province. Well, Canada does not have a constitution. It was never enacted. It was never ratified. The non-existent constitution would then also first have to be amended before any province can secede. And this amendment requires negotiations, again, with the governments of all provinces and the government of Canada. Now, let's look at this. Alberta wants to secede, even though there's no need, but let's just hypothetically play with this. Alberta wants to secede, then all governments of all provinces need to discuss amending the constitution. Well, do you think Quebec, who is getting so much money from Alberta, would say, yes, it's fine if Alberta secedes, we can live without the money? Haha, don't fool yourselves. The government of Canada gets to decide the terms of secession in its negotiations before any minister can even propose a secession. So overall, how many years do you think all these negotiations will take? How successful do you think a referendum will really be when it's completely unlawful, when the act is based on an opinion? Does this really sound like a lawful, legitimate solution? Not to me. So what is the solution? First of all, I hope everyone goes and educates themselves and educate your children. Research the facts. Contact me, I'll give you all the source documents. Read it, connect the dots, learn the truth, and break the patterns and the indoctrination. Celebrating Canada Day keeps up the illusion. Waving the Canadian flag keeps up the illusion, as will be shown in my upcoming documentary film. Educate friends and neighbors. If you need to, use the Socratic method by asking questions and not just presenting facts. When someone has awoken, is confused, offer help, kindness, and patience. Be suspicious of lawyers And I don't mean this in a hostile way of a personal attack, but they are corporate attorneys that swear an oath to put the interest of the state above the interest of the individual or the living man or woman. Also, be suspicious of so-called constitutional experts that use presumed authority to keep you trapped in the illusion. For example, by pushing for a referendum with the Clarity Act. When people in each sovereign province are ready, we will hold a constitutional assembly. And in that assembly, we'll elect delegates and agree on a provincial constitution. After that, a lawful government is seated. And that happens without corporate involvement of any kind. And only after each province has been properly established with the constitution and a lawful government can all provinces then discuss if they want to federate all of the provinces. Absolutely no politician, minister, judge, governor general, etc. of the current illegitimate de facto system actually needs to be asked for permission. Nobody needs to be asked for permission. The people have been the sovereigns since December 11, 1931. Everything starts with a peaceful declaration of independence and sovereignty by the people. Each provincial constitution will include transitional clauses to transition from the current de facto system to the proper lawful system. A lot of things we have going right now actually aren't bad, but we need to transition those over. Committees of the people will be structured to help with these transitions. Natural resources of each province can be used as backing for a new money. And we're talking about specie, not currency. Actual hard money. No income tax at all. Tariffs can be utilized as external revenue. Foreign investors must create a corporation within the province and hold all profits in a bank that is in the same province for the same length that their corporate charter was granted. Foreign investors will never hold allodial title to the land. It includes the title to any natural resources. They can only buy the right to use the natural resources, but they will never own the land or the mine. The people in each province, they benefit from foreign investment through royalties, dividends, and partnerships. Current pensions, for example, that are in fiat currency can be transitioned to the new lawful system and held in specie, real hard money, backed by the natural resources of the province. Votes, assemblies, and decisions must all be documented, recorded, and protected with blockchain technology that they can't be altered. There needs to be full transparency. There can be no division among the people. Indigenous people and all others need to realize that we all have the same enemy. And lastly, the Constitution must state accountability and also penalties for government entities that violate it. That is one thing that's been missing from the US Constitution. It says that the government shouldn't do these things, but it doesn't lay out what the punishments are if they decide to do that. With that, I'd like to just go to the final quote. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Meaning, don't try to fight within this illegitimate system because you're just going to wear yourself out. Realize what you already have, realize the power you have, and utilize that to just build something new.